Good evening. So glad that you have joined us this evening for this time, Answers for Life. And, once again, I'd like to encourage you to write us. If you have a question, something that you would like, a topic that you would like to be discussed on this program, maybe questions that you might have concerning something, please write us. The number's on the bottom of your screen there, 337 Farmington Road, Summerville, South Carolina, 29483. And I'm LaVon Young, the counselor at Faith Assembly. But I've got a book this week I want to share with you. It's on the screen if you'll look closely. From this day forward, it has 5 commandments and commitments to a marriage. Now, we're going to be talking about marriage tonight, what marriage is, what it takes for a good marriage, and how to sustain one. This book is a very, very good book. I think you'd thoroughly enjoy it. And this book sells for $16 in the bookstore. But if you'll write me this week and ask for it and send $10, I will send it to you postpaid. 337 Farmington Road, Summerville, South Carolina. $10 donation, and I will send you this book postpaid. And if you went to the bookstore, you'd pay $16 for it. But I'd love for you to have this. If you're having some situations in your marriage, you need some advice or something, this book would be very good. So write me this week, 337 Farmington Road, Summerville, South Carolina, 29483, and just put LaVon Young, and I will send it to you postpaid for a $10 donation. You will enjoy this book. So let me encourage you to write me for it, okay? Marriage is God's idea. God formulated marriage. God brought marriage into existence. He set the rules for marriage. God loves marriage so much till He calls the church His bride. Jesus performed His first earthly miracle at a wedding ceremony. So marriage is a wonderful thing. Now, there's one verse in the Bible. I think I referenced this a few weeks ago in one of the programs. I said there's one verse in the Bible, Matthew, and it's found in Matthew chapter 7. If you obey this verse, you will never have a marriage problem. Now, how do you like that? How many of you would like, those of you who married, one verse in the Bible, if you obeyed that one verse, you'd never, ever have a marriage problem? Well, here's the verse. It is good for them to remain as I am, which was single. In other words, it's good not to marry. And it goes on to say, for you shall surely have trouble. Now, it sounds like a negative thing, doesn't it? Get married, you're going to have trouble. Well, stay single, you're going to have trouble. Anything you do, you're going to have trouble. Now, but he also said, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. God brought marriage into existence. He gave the glue to hold it together. When Adam saw Eve and he embraced her and said, this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, God said, therefore shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave unto his wife. Now, let me tell you what it is. Leaving and cleaving. That's the two words. In this program tonight, I want to emphasize in your relationship with your marriage partner, those two words are vital. Leave and cleave. Think about those words. I'll be talking about them a little bit later on. Now, God said He created marriage to bring unity, peace, foundation. You know, I love history. Do you know that you can pinpoint the rise and fall of nations in history based on the continuity of the family, the strength of the family? You look at the moral decay of a nation, and within 2 generations of moral decay, that nation goes into total chaos. This is why I'm afraid for our good United States of America. If we don't turn the morals of this nation around, we're going to go into chaos. Now, God said it way back in Chronicles. If my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, I'll hear from heaven, I'll heal the land, I'll bless the land. Now, the moral decay means when people begin to let selfishness, self-desire override what should be a good relationship in society. I remember years and years and years ago, sounds like a long time, really was, I was in graduate school, and the professor gave us a book to read, and then we had to do a paper on that book. Well, when I read the book, I was totally disgusted. And of course, I was an older student at the time. Most of the students in the University of South Carolina, where I was a student, was in their teens or 20s, in their mid-20s, working on a master's degree. And I was in my 40s working on a master's degree. But I read the book, and then when I wrote my essay on the book, I started out by saying, this is one of the most obscene, indecent books that I've ever read, and my intelligence level is already above the material of this book. If this book, the material, represents the educational level of this class, my education already exceeds this class, and I don't see where I need it. Well, that wasn't a very smart thing to do for a professor to read that paper, but I meant it. He knew I meant it. And so everything was okay. I knew he didn't like me, and that was okay. But he came into the class, he said, started to give out the papers, excuse me. And he said, now, somebody in this class feels that this book is obscene and indecent. Well, at that point it was okay. Nobody knew it was me, so it was okay. But then he looked at me and he said, Mr. Young, what is your definition of obscene and indecent? Well, I looked at him and I said, called his name, and I said, I'm glad you asked the question like you asked it. You asked me for my definition of obscene and indecent. Now, if you'd have told me to just define obscene and indecent, I might have had a problem doing that. But you asked me my definition, so I can tell you my definition. If it embarrasses you in mixed company, if it's below your moral character, then it's obscene and indecent. I said, that book is below my moral character, and to me, it's obscene. I said, now, I don't know where your moral character is, so for you, it may not be obscene and indecent because it might be above your moral character. Well, he didn't like me, and we had to coming together a little bit later on. But it expressed my opinion. Now, we're living in a day, and here's what I want to get across to you. We're living in a day where that line between immorality and morality is becoming too shaded. It's becoming too gray. The area where we are allowing things to infringe on our moral character is getting a little bit too gray. Now, I'm not a prude, and I'm not old-fashioned. I may be old enough to be old-fashioned, but I'm not. I love what we have modern today. I enjoy what we have today. Science has made such tremendous advances until it intrigues me, and I love to study and realize it. But I am old-fashioned when it comes to morals. And the reason I'm old-fashioned is this book is our moral character explainer. In other words, I do counseling. And I tell people when they come in many times, I have a lot of textbooks, I have a lot of models, stages that we can look to and go through in the counseling process. But I'll be up front with you. To me, this is the counselor's book. This is the counselor's book. The Bible contains God's direction for us. And He gives us a standard for moral character. He said, abstain from fornication. Now that is sexual experience between single people. Abstain from adultery. That is sexual experiences between married. And then he said that to have a physical relationship with someone of the same sex is an abomination. I'm not making it up, it's in the book. So he gives us the definitive term of what sexual immorality is. He explained that God created the physical relationship between man and woman to exist in the bonds of marriage. Now, Paul goes on to be very plain about that experience. He said, the body of the husband belongs to the wife, and the body of the wife belongs to the husband. You can't get any plainer than God making it clear the relationship between husband and wife. But he also is just as clear to say outside of that bonds of that relationship that it's wrong. Now, you don't have to be a rocket science to understand that. Now, I know there are many today that's taking the word, they're twisting it around, they're trying to make it say things that it doesn't say, and say that, well, you know, we have tolerance and we're acceptable of it. No, no. When it comes to the spiritual relationship with Jesus Christ, this Bible is pretty clear. Now, there's a lot of things that I can't take this Bible and show you that is wrong. There are things that I believe it's wrong. I don't think it's good for a person to smoke cigarettes. But I can't take this Bible and show you where it's wrong to smoke a cigarette. I know the Bible says we shouldn't harm the body, but I mean, that could be this right here as well. So it's a too broad a spectrum to try to pinpoint rules and regulations based on things that we take into the body. Coffee has caffeine in it. Tea has caffeine. It's not good for you. Sugar is not good for you. Starches, too many, is not good for you. We could go that gamut on and on and on and not be able to pinpoint it. But there's some things that we can pinpoint this in this word. In other words, now I'm really going out on a limb here when I do this one, but I can't take this Bible and show you where it's a sin for you to take a social drink. Now, I believe it's wrong, but I can't take this Bible and prove to you that it is. But I can take this Bible and prove to you that it's wrong to get drunk. See, we have to take what God said, and we have to understand what God said. Now, when it comes to marriage, God set the rules. Man didn't set the rules. God set the rules. And the first rule that He set was, leave father and mother and cleave. Leave and cleave. Now let's deal with those two words for just a few moments. Leaving means you set your goal for one objective. When you marry a woman, you marry a man, the chief executive purpose of your life from that moment is to make that person happy, to bring peace and joy. You say, well, what about serving God? If you serve God in your marriage, will reflect what God said about marriage. See? If you're committed to God, what God said about marriage will become part of your marriage. See, let me share with you one thing. 5 times God commanded the husband to love the wife. Husband, love your wife. 5 times. He commanded that. He didn't suggest it. He said, husbands, love your wife. Well, what if I don't love her? Love is a decision, not an emotion. Thank God for the emotions that come with love. I like the emotions that come with love. But love is not based on the emotions. Love is based on a decision. See, I have people come in and they'll say, well, I don't know. I don't know if we ever really loved each other. We loved each other, but we were not in love. You ever heard that? And here's another one. Well, I don't think this was the right person. I don't think I married the right person. No, it's not that you didn't marry the right person. It's that you're not doing the right thing. See, you got to do the right thing. Now, God said, leave. Now, what was he talking about leaving? Leave the single life. Leave that area where you only thought about yourself and what you wanted and what you desired and what made you happy and what brought the peace in your life. Leave that. Now, you take a wife or you take a husband, and your chief objective is to make that person happy. Now, you say, wait a minute, what about our relationship with God? If you have a happy marriage, God's happy about it. If you love your mate, God likes that. Now, that's the reason Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, where I would have referenced you this, Paul said, I don't have a commandment from God. This is the way I feel about it, that it's better to remain like I am. Now, Paul, as far as we know, did not have a wife. Whether he had one or not, we don't know for sure. But evidently, when he was writing the 13 letters, he did not have a wife during that time. And he said, now, to the married I command, now here, this is why I want you to hear this, yet not I, but the Lord. Now, he said here, this is what God is saying. He that findeth a wife findeth a good thing, and you give yourself. But Paul said, I speak of myself, not an oracle of God, that it's better if you remain like I am. Now, what was Paul saying? I give myself 100% to what I'm doing, my ministry, my evangelism, my missions work. And if I had a wife, I couldn't do that. So if you really want to do God's work and you can remain single, then that's going to be the best thing for you to do that. But don't go to hell over it. In other words, don't commit sin over it. It's better to get married. Now, when we look at leaving, it's leaving selfishness, leaving self-serving ideas, and you all of a sudden begin looking at someone else as being the object of your affection, your love, and your giving. Now, my wife and I will be celebrating in July the 23rd, we'll be celebrating 56 years of marriage. Now, let me tell you something. She's my life. I couldn't imagine life without her. God has blessed us both with good health, and we enjoy life. We enjoy life together, and we're together all the time. She's my secretary. She's my traveling companion. She does all my scheduling and everything. We're together almost 24/7, and I never get tired of her. I mean, it's the joy of being there is just, but now I realize not every marriage has that. Not every marriage, and you know, that's not quality time for us. Working together is not quality time. I got to give her that quality time that is needed. Leaving is when we put the person that we choose as our wife or husband, we put them number one in our life, just under God. And the thing about it is, if you put God first and you're married, He wants you to put your marriage first. He wants you to put your marriage there. And that your relationship with each other enhances your relationship with God. God enjoys seeing His people happy and their needs are met. So leaving is when, if you live at home, that's the reason I say, and I know we're living in a different era of time now, and a lot of couples get married, they live with their parents, and I understand the economics of that, but it's not good. Leaving is one of the part of marriage. And then that cleaving. Cleaving means holding to, embracing. See, he said in another place, a twofold cord cannot, it's not easily, but it can be broken. But a threefold cord cannot be broken. Now, you know what the threefold cord is? You, your mate, and God in the middle. That can't be broken. That will stand the test. So you've got to leave and you've got to cleave to your wife, your husband. Now, when we look at marriage, we hear so much about marriage. The marriage divorce rate today is atrocious. It's over 50%. And that's so sad. And it's not that marriage is not working. It's just that people are not giving themselves to understand what marriage is. It is not just utopian idea. See, marriage, he said later, when he said it's better to remain as I am and not married, because he said trouble will come. People come into my office and I say, well, what's going on? We just got trouble. We got trouble in our marriage. We got trouble in our relationship. And I'll say, sounds about right. Trouble. He said we'd have trouble. But listen, marriage is the closest thing to heaven on earth. Now, it's not heaven on earth. You got to die to go to heaven. Here, we don't have heaven on earth. We use that term a lot, but it's just not practical, and it's certainly not true. In nothing do we have heaven on earth. Because he said, eyes not seen, ears not heard, neither has it even entered into the thoughts of man the good things that God has in store. So we don't have heaven on earth. We can have a taste of what heaven's like. And I think marriage is one of those things that God give to us, God created for us, to bring peace and joy, contentment and happiness, and the foundation of cultures and society itself. So God wants marriage. He loves marriage. And He wants us to enjoy the benefits of marriage. But He also tells us that marriage has its problems. So it's not that you have trouble, it's what you do with it. It's how you handle it. Matter of fact, in this book, from this day forward, the writers here, Craig and Amy, they share 6 different things or 5 different things that you need to understand in marriage. And I'm going to share those 5 with you very briefly. Number 1, seek God. Now, I just told you threefold cord. Twofold cord is broken. Threefold cord cannot be broken. And that's putting God in the middle. Listen to these words. God, the best maker of all marriages, combine your heart into one. Now you would think that comes from the Bible, but it really doesn't. It comes from William Shakespeare. That God combines your heart together. So number 1, if you want to really let your marriage increase and grow, seek God. Number 2, and this might be a little bit strange for you, but number 2 is learn how to fight fair. I have couples sometimes say, we don't argue. Well, frankly, I can't imagine life being that dull. I argue with myself sometimes. So, disagreements is okay. It's how you handle them. Listen to this. A happy marriage is the union of 2 good forgivers. If you don't know how to forgive, you're in for rough sailing when it comes to a good marriage. By the way, the person that made that statement is the wife of evangelist Billy Graham, Ruth Bell Graham. She made that statement. A happy marriage is the union of 2 good forgivers. People who know how to forgive. Number 3, have fun. Marriage should be fun. You should have more fun with your wife than any other thing you do in life. It is, matter of fact, listen to this. Let the wife make the husband glad to come home, and let him make her sorry that he's got to leave. Now, that was written by Martin Luther way back in the 14th century. That marriage should be such a union that the husband hates when he has to go away and the wife hates to see him go away. Number 4, stay pure. Don't contaminate your marriage by letting your mind wander in pornography and all of this kind of stuff coming in. Don't prostitute your marriage to the things of the world. Listen to this. What a happy and holy fashion it is that those who love one another should rest on the same pillow. Oh, let me tell you. Oh, by the way, Nathaniel Hawthorne wrote those. Happiness is the marriage as two people resting their head on the same pillow, sharing thoughts, sharing life. And number 5, never give up. Never give up. You may seem like you're at the end of your rope and you can't go any further, but you can. Listen to this. Never confuse a single defeat with a final defeat. Did you get that? Never confuse a single battle and a single defeat in something as a total loss of the war or total defeat. Never do that. No excuses. Good intentions won't make it. It's good actions that'll make it. Let me encourage you. Listen to those 5 things again. Seek God, fight fair, have fun, stay pure, and never give up. It's not who you married, it's what you're doing in your marriage. It's not the things that's happening, it's the way you're handling things. Now, I'm going to have some guests in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about dynamics of marriage and principles of marriage, because our marriages are in trouble. But I want you to have a good one. Write me for this book this week. Send me $10. I'll postpaid and send it back to you. And write me, address on the screen, and let me send you this book. I'll guarantee you, you won't be sorry. Matter of fact, if you're sorry later on, write me back. I'll send you your $10 and let you keep the book. Okay? That's how much I believe it'll help you. But thank you so much for watching tonight, and thank you for being a part of Answers for Life. And listen, I really do want you to write in, and if you have questions or if you have a subject that you'd like for me to address, I'd love to do that. And I thank you so much. I don't take for granted that you watch this program every week, but I'd love to hear from you. God bless you, and I'll join you again next week. You have a good week.